Hey everyone, this is my brother Michael.
My brother Adam.
We're the Scharff Brothers.
You're listening to Mentoring for the Modern Musician.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome.
Welcome back to the
Welcome
podcast.
back. Welcome back to another episode of Mentoring for the Modern Musician. Our 101st episode.
Are you gonna keep doing that?
Coming at you.
You're just gonna keep naming them.
No, I'm not.
It's 102. 107.
No, I'm not. It's aught.
368.
This is the aught one.
Aught ones.
Right.
Go back and start. This is the first episode after 100.
Exactly. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for listening to the 100th episode. That was fun to sort
That
of
was super
recap
fun.
the other
Yeah.
99.
Recap. Oh, we talked about that.
Reminded me of some that we had forgotten that we did.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, I was.
And it's amazing that we still have all kinds of things to talk
oh
about.
man, there's so many topics still,
There's so much stuff.
and people to interview.
And people to interview, like on today's show,
We are interviewing songwriting professor from Berklee,
Scarlet Keys.
Scarlet Keys.
Like she
That
had a
is
choice.
the best name.
Right? Like,
It's
Scarlet
the best
Keys.
name. That sounds like the most famous songwriter of all time.
And it's like, does she play piano? Oh, yeah.
Of course, she plays
Of
piano.
course she plays piano.
Her name is Scarlet Keys.
Come on, man.
Of course, she plays piano,
Come on.
and she's written an amazing book.
Yeah.
The Craft of Songwriting, Music, Meaning, and Emotion.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. It's a great book.
It's so great.
I'm very excited to talk to her about this book and whatever else we can get her to talk about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen.
Scarlet Keys. So we are fortunate enough here to have Scarlet Keys in our little project studio. And we want to talk to her about a bunch of stuff, not necessarily only centered around the new book, The Craft of Songwriting.
But we're definitely talking about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you got to let me say the whole title.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's The Craft of, and this is why.
Okay.
Craft of Songwriting. I love this part.
Go.
Music, meaning, yes.
Yes.
We got that.
Yes.
And emotion.
Yes.
And we're going to get into why that's important at some
Yes.
point. I know we will. So, hi, Scarlett.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for making it today. We really, really appreciate
Oh,
it.
so
Yeah.
excited. So excited to talk to you about your whole path. Because here's the thing is that you don't end up writing a book like that or being a professor at Berklee without some stuff happening first.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought we could start with the stuff happening first,
Let's do it.
I
Go
love
back,
that.
right?
The stuff happening first. That's
The
a great way to
stuff-
put it.
The stuff that happened first.
Yeah.
So, where did you grow up, and how did you get into music?
Well, I grew up in San Diego, California. And when I was very little, my dad had a daytime talk show. And he would sing and interview like Victor Borge and James Garner and all those people.
Oh,
and
I'm
he
so
would wear the
jealous.
skinny tie and smoke
Yeah.
and sing
Oh,
and look off into the
yes.
distance.
Yes.
So he had that
love
for a couple
that.
of years, and then we moved to California. So I was around my whole family who sang, and music seemed to be a very natural thing. And in high school, of course, thank God for musical theater. That was
Oh,
just
yeah.
the best. And
Yeah,
then
for us too.
Yep.
I graduated from high school, and then I had a piano teacher who said, you need to eat and breathe and sleep music. You really need to. And he said, there's Berklee in Boston, and then there's, LA, Dick Grove, I think it was. And,
Oh, yeah.
and I got on a plane, flew to Boston before the plane touched ground. I was like, yes. Like, I want to be here. Of course, it was in the spring where all the tulips were out.
Oh,
It wasn't in the winter.
Yeah, it wasn't winter where you're like,
no.
wait.
But I went to Berklee, and I studied. I was into performance, and I did a lot of nerdy vocal jazz ensembles, and I listened to like Duke Ellington and Ella Fitzgerald every day, and I wore black every day.
Oh, there's nothing nerdy about
so much.
about Ella and Duke. Nothing nerdy about that.
No,
That's awesome
but it was just
stuff.
like I was,
Yeah.
and I would like sing on like street festivals, and I would sing like all these obscure like Duke Ellington songs, and people would walk by like, whatever, dude. I'm like, you don't get me. I'm wearing black, and I'm singing, Mood Indigo, and they're like, whatever.
Right.
And then I graduated, and I moved back. Well, we had a pretty big tragedy in my family. I graduated, and then my mom like passed away in her sleep, and I went right back to San Diego and moved in with my dad, and just like learned to play piano. I just totally poured myself into the piano. It's all I did. And then I got a gig playing piano 5 nights a week, 5 hours a night.
Oh man.
And all I could play were ballads. And like the bartenders are like, could you speed it? Could you, and I literally could not play.
Mid-tempo? Can you play something mid-tempo for
Nothing.
us?
And this old lady walks up to me and she's like, just go for it. I'm like, oh God, I can't. I can't. And they were so patient with me. And I finally lost that job. And then I went to these teachers like, how do I play anything fast? Anything, you know?
Right.
And, but that was a good learning tool, because I just sat down with Carole King Records and Carly Simon, and I just listened, and I tried to figure out like how to be the band on the piano, and
nice.
how can I learn it? And then I was in a band in San Diego. I had an original band, and Jewel was playing at this coffee shop called the Interchange Coffee House, and then she left.
That was a
and
huge...
I took over her Tuesday night with my band.
You did?
And I did, and that was really fun. And then I was in a traveling group there called the Mardells. And then I wanted to move to Nashville and become a songwriter and really try to
make it happen,
write songs and
Yeah.
do that whole thing. So packed up my car and drove to Nashville. And
did you know anybody?
I had a step grandmother
Okay.
in Goodlettsville. And,
man.
She was like, oh, darling, I've been in and out like a little dog wetting in the snow. Did you call? I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go. And so
That's awesome.
that's who she was. She was really super religious and adorable. And, and she was the only contact that I had there. And I don't know. I didn't really think, 30,000 other people just moved here too to try to write songs. I just thought, well, let's just go.
Well,
Right.
but I love that. Don't you think that that's a part of it? Is that you have to sort of have that delusional, right? If you start worrying about how many hundreds of thousands of people are doing what you're doing,
Right.
That'll just stop you cold, won't it?
Yeah.
You got to
So-
have that delusional.
Totally delusional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and then just I just started meeting people and making connections and writing songs, and then I thought, well, if I wanted to get a staff deal. I wanted to write full time as a writer, so I set up a little
Well, and you did, right?
writer room in my
Warner
house.
Chappell, right?
Yep. And I started to just kind of live like that already. I started to set up writing appointments and just
I love
live that life. Just see, if I'm going to be doing that, I need to be
You
doing
need to be
that,
doing
whether
it.
I'm
I
signed or
love
not.
that.
Yes, exactly.
And then I eventually got this guy that heard I'd given up finally. I'm like, I'm leaving this town, forget Nashville. And I went back to San Diego, and of course I checked my voicemail, and there's this guy from Warner Brothers going, I'll listen to your CD, give me a call. And I thought, oh God, they're calling. And so I, met with him at Warner Chappell, and he got what I did and signed me, and that was a pretty exciting day.
Oh, so exciting.
That's awesome.
So how long were you at Warner Chappell then?
2 years. I like
2
to give one
years.
syllable, like 3 syllables when it's Southern. Years. I was there for 2 years, and any questions about that?
Yeah, I mean, so how was it different than what you were setting your days up like previously?
Well, when you want, I remember whining, of course, lots of whining on the journey to a friend of mine, like, I want, I don't, just writing songs, but feeling like they weren't good, and she said, just because you don't need someone to validate you to know that you're good. And I said, I don't stop being
revelation
Buddha.
right there.
I need to be paid. I need someone to pay me
Yes.
and say, here's some money. You deserve money.
Right.
And I was
Yeah,
just like,
sitting under
so
the boat
Song's
tree's
good
nice
enough
and
that I
everything,
will
but
pay you now.
Sitting under the boat trees out nice and everything, but I'm going to need a little bit more than
I needed validate. I needed more than my best friend saying, I
Yeah.
like your song.
Yeah.
You're a great songwriter.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Yeah.
How about somebody
And
pay me financially so that I know
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So, so it had a lot of weight in the sense of, the networking picked up, like, I'm at Warner,
Sure.
we could write, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But honestly, now we're going to go, but what happened was, like the first day that I got there, what's his name? The guy who wrote Rainbow Connection, Paul.
Paul Williams.
Oh, he would laugh. Williams, that's my
Paul
last
Williams,
name.
yeah.
Paul Williams was getting coffee that day, the first day that I came to write, and I shook his hand, and he said, well, write a hit, good luck. And I said, great. And then I walked off, and he goes, well, aren't you going to wish me luck? And I thought, really? Oh, fine, okay, good luck. And just sort of being at Warner Chappell, being down on Music Row, having a piano room, having those people around. I loved writing a song and then going into a studio and just being able to hire whoever I wanted. And that whole thing was really great. But I found it to be, I wasn't enjoying it.
Okay.
I ended up not enjoying it because I would be in a room with some guy and he would want to say truck in the middle of my song, and then I would say,
Truck, not so much. What else we got?
it's like,
Besides truck, though.
yeah, I don't really want to say truck right now. Or he'd be like, is it a yellow truck? I'm not feeling, I think it should be. And I would just be in there going, and I was writing like at 10 o'clock in the morning and then writing with someone at 2 and the next day writing at 10 and 2.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like finding the time to like stop and nourish the songs. And I just found myself just feeling like something's wrong. Like I'm not feeling, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I was scared to write alone. So I was co-writing and my publisher's like, quit co-writing. And so finally I knew a guy who had been to Sweden to write some songs. And I said, look, can I meet with your publisher? And I met with him and played him some songs. And he contacted this guy in Stockholm who had a group called Roxette, if you remember that group.
Oh, Roxette, sure.
And
Absolutely.
he had a publishing company there. So he said, if you come, we'll set you up with all our best people. So I went to my publisher and I said, look, I need a break. I want to go to Sweden. And he's like, all right, how long? And I go, 5 weeks. And he's like, 5 weeks? And I go, just trust me. And I went to Sweden, and every day I got on a subway and I went to a different group of writers. And I went from, some Southern guy going, I think the truck should be yellow to, we love it. Fantastic. Great. Okay, we are having caviar now. Just this my whole soul just woke up, and I felt so happy, and I thought, oh my God, these people are lovely. And I
love that.
ended up down in Monte Carlo with about $30 to my name, and looking back at Monte Carlo from the ocean going, as God is my witness, I will never be poor again, and writing this song titled I Want to Be Rich, which is the one that got on the radio in Britain and got recorded by this country singer. And so we wrote I wrote 15 songs while I was there, and I came back, recorded them in Nashville, and everyone in Nashville loved it. It was weird. They loved these weird Swedish songs.
That's awesome.
And that's when everything started to shift. And because I felt like, you need to be happy where you need to be happy. Music needs to be in a place where you're happy, and you need to be culturally happy. I felt sort of limited culturally there. And also musically, I needed to be, so I rebelled and said baby in every single song that I wrote. I was so happy to be writing in a pop place. So I felt like it was limiting in Nashville. It's way different now down there. They are so different. But at the time, they really were like,
sure,
who's going to sing that?
Right.
What's that chord? No, get that chord out of my song. And not to make fun of Nashville because
not at all.
It is, man, it's hard to write a great country song. And I feel like being a California person, I didn't feel like I honored it in my bloodstream.
Right.
And I did drive a truck briefly, but still. And I have.
Hey, so did I. I love a good truck.
But that don't make you a country star.
And I
does
have a
not make me
cousin
a
named
country
Bubba, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't count.
I call people Bubba.
Okay, so it so.
So then,
yeah.
How much? So what I'm hearing, and this is the question that I would want to ask about that, is that how much do you think the success in Sweden had to do with you were able to come from an authentic Scarlet Keys place, and not
Scarlet Keys.
What color truck are we going to be talking about here?
Yeah.
Right. How much of it? So yes, culturally, you mentioned that you were more comfortable culturally. How much of that do you think then falls back to? And you said you had to be happy and you had to be right. How much of it falls then back to this comfort level of knowing this is who I am authentically. This is where I'm coming from, this foundational place of this is me,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm writing.
Yeah. Well, I was so grateful for Nashville, for everything that it taught me, and to be in the room with those writers. I mean, I wrote with Chris Stapleton, worked with him in the studio, like just sat in rooms with people that were so good that I loved to watch their whole process and learn from them. And those people that say I was in and out like a little dog wetting in the snow, those people that talk like that, they are storytellers, like in their DNA. And it's, if I had to sit down and write a country song, I would just be praying to every god there was, because it's very hard to pull off a great country song. But so I didn't feel like that I really could do it, or that it was really where my heart was after all the vocal jazz ensemble
And it
stuff.
definitely does not sound like it was bringing you any joy.
Duke Ellington. I mean, there were good days, but there were mostly days where I felt like I was having an out of body experience writing a song. Like, I'm not in here. I can't even sing. If you said to me, here's $1 million, sing every song you wrote in Nashville, I would just cry. I would go, I don't remember them. I can't do it.
Yeah.
A few of them I could. And I ended up, after coming back from Sweden, this sort of, something cracked open, and I ended up finally writing a song by myself. And it was the song that my publisher was like, now this, and they wanted to, have it be this group single. And there was a lot of interest in it at the time. And I just feel like, because I love Europe, and because I love Sweden so much, just the whole pop and the tracks and everything, I just got really happy musically. And I think that's so important, and, it was like, I remember when my daughter was 2 years old, we're way fast forwarding, but I ended up having my daughter, and she was 2, and I'm on my piano playing this like intense, like minor thing, and she waddles in and goes, no, no, Elmo.
All right.
And I look at her like, do you know who I think I am? So I stop my intense whatever, and I have to go, la, 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 Elmo's world. She wobbles out, and the next day I'm back, in the end. No, Elmo. And so the next day I just wrote her this song with like la, 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 all over the chorus. And it was just this happy little song about like what we do during the day. And it got picked up for a national commercial.
Oh my God.
So from then on, I would be like, honey, do you have a minute? Is this any good? I know you're 3, but is this any good?
What do you think? Does this resonate?
Yeah,
hon?
is this resonating? Say truck, mommy. Okay.
Okay. What color truck, honey? What
Tonka
color?
truck.
Exactly. Tonka truck, mommy. Tonka truck.
So that was kind of another, I really wrote her just such a happy here. And I think one of the things that, so Nashville was wonderful, and my publisher was retiring, and the Berklee job, somebody said, look, they're looking for a teacher at Berklee.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, God, it was that moment of, things are changing right now for me. And yet this job came open, and I wasn't sure I was going to like teaching. And I came up, and I applied and got the job and moved everything up from Nashville. And then I said, I really appreciate you hiring me, but I think I'm going back. I don't think I'm going to do this. They were like, let's just give it a semester. And now I'm going into my 16th year.
I was going to ask you about that. Right. Exactly.
That's
awesome. And I learned so much from everybody that's been in my class.
Right,
and
right.
it's just the curriculum is wonderful at Berklee. But again, it was just the being happy thing. And writing with different artists and writing in different genres and really opening up musically. And I felt like I was able to not just limit it to the country at the time that was there, that was really, really country.
Well, and that was
16
18,
years ago.
20 years ago. That was
there was no
different-
pop country.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. There was a little bit, but it was really limited.
But very.
And now it's opened up so much.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
In fact, the traditional country is not even cool enough right now.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the
Right.
older guys are like, oh, darn it.
Yeah.
It's all rap related and track related. And,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and where guitar solos went when they left pop radio.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I did go back to Nashville a couple of weeks ago and just was like, oh, I miss it. I just had a little town of soulmates. It was really wonderful. But
It's so music. It's just that's what the whole town is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you went back, what was the purpose of the trip?
I went down to do some teaching, but while I was
Nice.
there, I wrote a couple of songs.
You did.
and
Oh, that's great.
with some
Nice.
previous co-writers, and it was really,
Oh,
really,
that's
really fun
fantastic.
to be in the room with them again.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. It's hard to describe the level of talent with writers
Yeah.
and
Players too.
players
Yeah.
and even industry people
Right.
and their knowledge and understanding of
Yeah.
creating a buzz for an artist. And it's one of the few places where that funnel
Yeah.
is still
It's still intact.
intact-ish, although it's definitely changed over the last 3 or 4 years. But it is an amazing town.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really fun to sit in a room with someone you know is better than you. And
yeah.
Right.
and in
Right.
fact, I was with a friend of mine who, his whole wall is lined with everything gold that's happened to him. And he was talking about writing story songs, and I just zipped. I was like, I'm just going to sit here and just learn. I want to get, if I could get better by being in this room with him, I will just stop talking right now. And it was really fun to listen, to what he had to say, because one of the things he said was, because a lot of times a writer will start a line, like line 1 into your song, da 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 floor. And then, usually beginning writers like, what rhymes with floor? And then you go, na na na, you out the door. And then, but sometimes that can be limiting, because then, you sing it to your friend and you're like, na 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 on the door, na 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 on the floor. And your friend goes, oh my God, that's amazing. Why did you say floor? And you have rhyme shame and you're like, oh, it rhymed.
It was a good rhyme.
It was rhymed. It rhymed. But what my friend Steve said was, he had an idea, and the idea was like, his title of his song that he wrote was, that's lonely stuff. And he was trying to figure out, because he is a true country story writer. Steve Leslie is his name. And he said, don't worry about the song. What rhymes with stuff? What rhymes with stuff? And when you get to a certain level in your writing, that question is wonderful, because you can make a whole sheet of rhymes, right? You've got stuff and enough, and then was, and then love, and then us, and it doesn't have to rhyme perfectly.
Right.
Now you've got this whole sheet that kind of serves as like a co-writer on the page, in the sense of, I never would have thought of that unless I had done all this rhyme search.
Yeah.
So it really, you don't feel as alone in the room, or you have to work as hard, because now you've got this whole sheet of words that would take you to a place that you wouldn't have gone by yourself.
All right, I just want to interject for people listening to the podcast that remember Scarlett wrote a book on songwriting, and she teaches songwriting at Berklee, and she's talking about being with a friend of hers in Nashville and zipping her mouth so she could learn from him. I want you to just soak that in and understand that you are never done, that it's always about learning, that there's always another thing you can get, a level that you can reach by being open to growing. That's amazing to hear you say. I absolutely love that.
That was the part I was going to jump on too, Adam. That's exactly it. So I was going to say that, and then I got completely overwhelmed by this idea of the rhyme sheets and the incidental rhyme sheets and the different words that go within, which is something that
Like
I
that's
do.
your co-writer.
That's your co-writer. What a great way to describe that.
That'd be a great song.
It is a good song. It would be a good song. So
What rhymes a co-writer?
kind of trick him under.
Slow nighter.
Slow nighter. O-nighter.
Low rider.
Low rider.
Low writer. See how he is?
Low rider.
That's what happens.
Co-writer.
So it's really it's a perfect place to actually talk about the book.
Yeah.
There were so many things in it that really, really were illuminating for me, and that you really were able to articulate things that I've heard other people say before, and that I've thought myself before, but in a way that was really, really easy to grasp and made sense in a way that I've rarely have heard anybody talk about it. And the place that I want to start is your very opening, where you describe great songs and great songwriters and talk about the things that they have in common. And the thing that I loved that you said was, even if they don't know that this is the process that they're doing, even if they don't understand that this is why it's so beautiful or so touching or makes such a difference, you can still take it apart and talk about what that is and why it is and how to recreate it. And that songwriting is a craft that you can learn.
Right.
I just loved that so much. It's something that happens with my students all the time, where they're like, well, I know, but you keep going in. Do you think that they knew that they were doing that? And I say, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether they knew it or not. Yes, some of them maybe do, and some of them maybe don't. What's more important is that we can dissect it and talk about why it's touching you the way it is, why it makes that difference.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, sounds good always wins anyway. There's always a theoretical explanation for why it sounds good and what mode we're in, and the interesting harmony stuff. But the reality is, it sounds good, right?
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
Right.
Well, this is exactly what Scarlett says in her book, around page 80-something. She says, sounds good wins.
Oh, no way.
No, literally, sounds good is always.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's something that we talk about all the time.
I've been saying that for about 20 years because I got into it with a student. And he's like, but why? I was like, you know what? Because it sounds good, man. I mean, yes, we can talk about what the theoretical explanation for it is, and knowing theory and knowing your scale modes and doing your practicing and all of that stuff is really, really important. Ultimately, though, you can do all of that, and if it doesn't sound good, who cares? Because you're not playing for people who are theoretically brilliant. You're playing for an audience that wants to hear a song.
Yeah.
And if it sounds good, they're going to be psyched.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that that is part of a book about really digging deep into the structure of songwriting.
Yeah.
You still have to address it. Yeah. And you're right. You can do all these things and it still just doesn't sound, it's just,
Yeah.
If it makes you feel like,
I mean, in one of the live seminars that I do, I'll have a lyrical line and it's in the book. And the line is, I remember love. And I'll say, is love good or is love bad? And the answer is, well, we don't know because there's no context. It's just, I remember love, right? It's a very neutral phrase. And so I go through this whole, okay, we're going to go to this chord. We're going to go to this chord. And then I'll ask the room after we've gone through several chords, which chord will break your soul?
Yes.
What's the chord? What chord? What chord? And I don't care where it's from. I don't even want to know where it's from, right? I just want to know that this is, because they think they know which chord will break. I go, okay, now I know it's subjective.
Yes.
But then when I play the chord, the whole room goes, oh my God. And it's not subjective, which is really interesting.
yes.
Yeah. So they're like, what chord was it? My soul is broken. So that's, anytime I can not know what I'm doing, anytime I can light a candle and be like, I don't know. I don't know what that was. I just love it. Anytime I can go to that place, it's wonderful. And do we have time for a little story about that? Because I think this is really helpful. And I do have to name drop only because this is why this happened. But James Taylor.
Scarlett, that's why we have you on the show.
We're going to be name dropping you as soon as you leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
James Taylor.
JT. The original JT.
Yes, they have a daughter. Sally.
Yeah.
And Sally called a couple of songwriters, and I was one of them. And she said, I'm doing a project. And I don't know if I've told you this story. And she said, I want to send you an image in an email. And then you have a week. And I want you to look at it. And I want you to write a song from the essence of the image. And then send it to me.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, God, the essence of the image. I mean, it was like a unicorn calling me and giving me a songwriting assignment.
Right.
The unicorn from my tube. It was too much.
Yes.
But I honored it. I pulled up my laptop. I put the image up. And because in Nashville, a lot of the writing was very desperate and trying way too hard. And, oh, my God, I need to get a hit. And, oh, I hope this is good. All of that desperation ends up in the song.
Right.
It just all feels like intellectual and overthought and desperate. And so here I am now, teaching, and I don't have to write it all if I don't want to. And I'm, just sort of like throwing words down in response to what I'm seeing and really asking, like, what does this mean to my soul? Okay, I know. And just splashing words, blah, blah, blah. And then sort of like once I got some words on the page, like cobbling them together and then limping into my piano room and then just hitting a chord and then going to a chord that I didn't know and going, well, So anyway, I ended up writing this song from that place of asking the room what wants to be written.
Yeah.
Wow.
As opposed to, I'm going to
Yes.
strangle this idea to the ground and I will have a song. And I
will beat
will
you into
rhyme with
submission.
floor. Yeah.
Yes.
And I will be famous and I will make money and I will be so liked.
Right. Yes.
Like, you know what songs
I'd like
hate
to
the
thank
most?
the Academy.
Right.
Nope. I was just like, I have nothing to prove and I don't have to send it to her. All
Yeah.
pressure's off. Let me just write something I care
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And once I got the song sort of to become whatever it was going to be, then the next question, well, what does this mean? How is this a metaphor for me? And
Right.
it became a metaphor for when we really have to say goodbye to a dream. Like, it's just, that's not going to happen. We need to close that window on that dream. But
Wow.
there's another dream.
Yeah.
Right? That was kind of the idea. And so I sent it to her, and then she sent the song to a painter. And she said, I want you to paint to this song I'm going to send you. And then she sent the song to a dancer and said, I want you to choreograph a dance to this. And she sent it to a playwright and a perfumist. And then she did this through several different chains of art and then had an opening on Martha's Vineyard with all of these chains of art. Consensus
Oh my
is her
God.
whole thing. If you want to check it out, it's on her website, consensus.org. And the reason I'm sharing that is I really took that process with me in every song that I write. And it's like, I don't try. I don't strangle anything.
Yeah.
I just want to be like, if I can just get out of the way,
Right.
maybe something really great can happen here, or
Yeah.
important, or
Right.
helpful, or whatever. Maybe not great, but take that word off the table.
No.
Maybe something worthy can happen if I
Yeah.
can get out of the way.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
once a song is written, like the essence, then you can go through and look at all of the techniques. You know, when you talk about, like, did Adele know that she's sang
Yes.
the 6th degree of the major scale in Someone Like You? I'm sure she was in the room going, I'd like to crush them with the 6th degree of the scale. I'm going to sing it on the 6th. We're singing it. No, but she sang it and she knew that it felt right. And
Right.
so do they know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they know, but they don't know.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
they really know. Like
Some of
John
them-
Mayer is so on
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
clear on what he's doing, and some people are so intuitive and smart and connected to themselves that they are absolutely aware of, this feels boring, I'm going to shorten this line, or
Right.
Right.
they know.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I love that. It's and totally a discussion for another time. But very often that I will describe that as, well, we will both describe that as a difference between a craftsman and an artist, right? That the artist just is usually the one who just kind of knows. They just kind of feel it.
Yeah.
They're like, this feels right.
Yeah.
And the craftsman is the one who can know why it feels right.
Yeah.
This is, no, we can do this here. And I love that you use John Mayer as an example for that, because if you listen to him talk about songwriting, it's very clear that he's a craftsman.
Yeah.
Doesn't make him not an artist.
Right.
Or
Right.
artistic in what he
Right,
does.
right.
It just, the distinction is, this is something that, yes, he wrote songs naturally also, obviously,
Yeah.
right? Because he only went to 1 year at Berklee, and right, so he was already doing that, right?
Yeah.
But he really knows theoretically what he's actually doing, and sets about to do it that way. Whereas I think you're right. I love the example of Adele, and that was one of why that hit me so hard right from the get-go in your book, is she doesn't have a lot of musical training. I think you're right. It's that she knows because she feels it.
Yeah.
That it's just that, this is it.
Yeah.
That this is the. Does she know it's a 6? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, maybe somebody in the room did. You know,
Yeah.
but even that doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe, her co-writer
Maybe.
said, "Hey, Bob, but this note, this is
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But the whole thing is, it doesn't matter if you can learn, you can really be aware of that stuff, and I always tell my students, like, you can't know too much, but you can think too much.
Oh, that's a brilliant
Yeah,
way
you
to
said
put
that
it.
in there too. I loved that too.
And that's like, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to know everything you can, but you
Right.
have to forget it really quick so that you
Right.
can write your song.
Exactly.
And then you bring it back.
Right.
It's
I love
humbling, man. Every time
Yeah.
I'll get in a room with a 20-year-old writer and I'll go, I feel like I'm jumping off the same cliff you're about to jump off. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Right.
That's so great. And so we were talking earlier about a mutual friend that we have who was in your class, Sam Robbins.
Yeah.
And Adam and I were talking about how much we've seen him grow as a result of being your student. And I can hear from that quote, I can understand why that would be, that you give them this room to be vulnerable because you're going to be vulnerable with them.
Yeah.
That it isn't, I've got all of this information from on high that I'm going to bestow upon you, and right, that there's a ton of information that's great, and it will always be helpful you can't know too much.
Right.
I agree with you on that 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But that unless you offer the room in yourself to let go of that information, probably nothing great's going to happen. Like you said, it's going to sound desperate. It's going to sound manufactured. It's going to sound, and again, that doesn't mean to say that it isn't helpful to know where to go when you're trying to write a bridge.
No, it really is.
It's not coming. It's like, okay, well, here's how I can approach it.
You can't know too much and shut your head off and write the song.
Yeah.
Not either or. That it really is. You can't know too much and shut your head off and just write the song.
Yeah.
That those are both. It's really that's a really inspiring way to think about it too.
Yeah. And sometimes you can really sit down in a very relaxed state and play with technique. Like, I'm just gonna use some theories here. I'm just gonna see if I can write a really cool hook, and I'm gonna try using like a static melody, like a repetitive note. I'm just gonna write a line with just repeating the same note, like Ed Sheeran does in Shape of You, or Lady Gaga and I've given you a million reasons to let you go. Okay, I'm just going to do like a flat line. Okay, now I'm going to try, a leaping melody, or I'm going to, and you're just playing around with ideas on the piano or on the guitar, and it's really relaxing, and then you might accidentally fall in love with something. So there are days where we're just playing with things.
Well, and knowing what it sounds like when you're hearing in your head that you're going to a minor 4 helps, because now you can get there quickly, and the translation from your head to your instrument is faster, which doesn't slow down your creative process. So I love that. That's a great idea.
So one of the things, one of the reasons I loved the book so much was the audio accompaniment that went with every example that you did. Could you talk about that a little bit, and maybe where that idea came from?
I thought you were going to ask her to sing them all. Could you sing all the examples?
She doesn't sing them. She has other people do them, and it's this really cool. The one for me. I mean, I loved all of them, but the one for me who did the lion's share of it. What a wonderful voice he has.
Nick Golston. Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah, the hard part about the book was, I would call my editor and say, I really want to use this John Mayer song because he uses his technique. And then my editor goes, well, that's too expensive. You write that song.
Right.
I thought, great. So the hard part was writing all these song examples. And then, of course, you get in and you're like, well, I care. I want them to sound good.
Right.
So it's really the examples are more like, here is... let's have a lyrical line, and let's sing the word love on a very stable note.
Right.
Okay. But if you wanted love to feel like the saddest thing that ever happened to you, let's try it on the 2nd degree of the major scale. Now try it on the 4th degree. Now try it on the 6th. Now try it on the 7th until you fall in love with a more unstable pitch, so that the tone of the melody is really affecting that, just like tone of voice. And so the example I'll give someone is, if I said to you, hey, do you like my new haircut? And you go, yeah. My next question would be, well, what don't you like about it? And you go, but I said yes. Or do you love me? Yes. Why did you say it like that? And so our tone gives us away, and it does that in music. And so when Adele sings "Never Mind, I'll Find Someone Like You," she doesn't sing it on the tonic note of the key. She sings it on the 6th, and we know that there is no one else like you. She's definitely not over you, because she's singing that on the 6th degree of the major scale.
Right.
So it gets kind of nerdy, but in the book I'll say, here's an example if you don't do that, and here it is if you do that. And so they're just little short examples of kind of just showing the techniques that I do really feel, can really help us as songwriters. I think the biggest thing for songwriters is when we're a little bored by our song. Somebody will play you a song and you're thinking, it's a good melody, good lyric, good singer. Why can I not focus on this song?
Right.
Or why can't I focus on my own song? Why am I bored? And it is usually always an issue with symmetry. usually it's the rhyme scheme is all the same. The line lengths are all the same length.
Right.
Every section is stable in some way. So if we can surprise the listener, break a pattern, that's really important to think about the structure of what's happening. Like it's all the same. It's all the same. And the brain the brain loves patterns, and then the brain gets bored.
Right.
So we have to surprise people.
Which I love, because again, if you think about most songs, when the first time you hear a change in the melody, or as a producer, you'll add a different element, or the perfect place for harmony, right, is the first introduction of harmony is that second half of the second verse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just when when you start to drift off a little bit, because I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
got to wake me up with something that's a little different.
Yeah. So
Right?
for an example of a really really great structure of a pattern is Charlie Puth, who was my student. He was great. He was in my songwriting 1 class, and he's such a great melody guy. But his big hit, Attention, the first idea is a melody that moves down, right? You've been running around, dum. So that's the first idea.
Yep.
Second idea, then he repeats the first idea. And then he repeats the second idea. And then the pre-chorus and then the chorus. And then on the second verse, and then he reverses it.
Right.
And it's just this inverted melody.
Yeah.
But it's a nice surprise. And whether the listener catches it or not, they're re-engaged.
Right.
They
It
may
keeps
not
them-
have just said, ooh,
Oh,
he
absolutely.
just inverted that
Oh,
melody.
they won't, and they don't usually.
It keeps them from going squirrel and getting
squirrel.
distracted. And,
Right. Exactly.
They're back.
Right. Yes.
They're back, right?
Well,
Gently sort of smacking them on the side of the head, going, hey, pay attention.
I know you're expecting this, but I'm going to give you this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, love it. It's a great example. And that's exactly what you just did was a perfect example of why I liked the audio examples in the book.
Yeah.
Was because you can explain it really well on the page, which you do. And I got it, or I thought I got it. And then I would play one of the audio examples that is included, and I'd be like, oh, wow. Oh, I really feel
Now
it.
I get it.
Now I really get the difference. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it was such a useful tool to be able to have, and I know I'll go back to it a bunch because it's just it really makes a huge difference. It really does. It's now, are you going to use that book in your classes?
I do.
And
And we use it in another class. And then I have a new Harmony for the Songwriter course, and I use it in that.
oh, perfect.
class
Nice.
as well.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. That's so nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, and I wanted to make it as interesting or as easy to read as possible.
Well, it really is.
Because, people are busy and they want to get the information as quickly as possible. So I
Absolutely.
just wanted to teach and get out.
Well, well, it's great, and you did that. And what's great about it is too, just for anybody who's listening and going, oh, but I don't know theory very well. I don't know what she means by 6th degree of the key, and what's great is you can read this book and have little to no understanding of theory.
Yeah.
And the way you've written it, and then with those audio examples, it makes sense. It's really easy to grasp.
So I've said it. I'll make sure that for anybody who's listening, I'll put links to all that stuff in the show notes.
Yeah.
So that you can go see what Michael's talking about, because
Yeah.
it really is amazing and makes it really, really easy to follow along with what can be pretty involved concepts, because theory can get mucky.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I taught some middle schoolers and high schoolers at Interlochen, and they came into my class after they'd been in another class, and I said, well, what did you learn today? And they said, oh, we learned about secondary dominants. And I said, well, what did you learn about them? Right. I mean, it's great that you know that dominant chord comes from another key, right? So, for example, if we're in the key of C and they're playing a 3 major chord, they're playing an E major as opposed to an E minor, they go, well, that's a secondary dominant. And what I want to say to them is, great. How will that serve you as a songwriter? What does that chord do?
right.
And then I can play them 6 songs I'm a creep, I'm a widow. And now you've got this weird chord, right?
Yeah.
So Radiohead uses it from the 1 chord to the 3 major chord. Billy Joel, some folks like to get away. And then that chord feels like it's getting away. It's weird and dominant and dominates the moment. And, I like to think about harmony as to, I have a mood palette next to me, and which one am I going to pick to make you cry right now, or to make this feel, not sad, but maybe bittersweet, or, a nuanced something. And melody can do so much by itself, and then harmony can do so much. And, as a songwriter, it's nice to just, have the option.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So that's a perfect example of that's the kind of stuff that you do talk about in this book, and it's really, really cool. So, yeah, it was nice. I felt like I had a little seminar with Scarlet Keys. I really did.
It's a rare group of people that want to talk about songwriting, so it is really fun to be able to talk with people who understand what you're saying and who are writers, musicians.
It's like getting ice cream for us. We're like, this is the coolest thing ever.
No, it really is. It's really cool, and it's. It is the most important part of the industry, right? Because it doesn't matter. You can be the greatest talent that there is, and if the song isn't there, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
That the song wins, like you said in the book.
Yeah.
Sounds good, wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you go back and listen to some of those songs, those great classic songs from the 60s or the 70s, and I'll think, wow, there is just no way I would write that lyric today. There's no way.
Not a chance.
Like, I took my daughter to see Diana Ross. My daughter's 11, and I'm thinking, oh, she's just going to be so bored. Nope. She was on the chair singing, upside down. Boy, you turn me inside out your turn. And we're like, you giving me sweet love. And I'm thinking, wow, because there is there's a spirit to those songs. There was something, it was so true. And so whatever, Hall & Oates, Bee Gees, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There was something they were out of the way. And something really special happened. And we need to be able to capture that magic as songwriters. And part of it is, it really isn't about us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can be in a Berklee classroom and go, all right, we got to talk about the muse here for a second. Because it is a mystical and humbling, magical, and it's so fun to go, I don't know. I was just saying that, and that felt, it's really, you got to stay in that place, I think, as a writer. If you're just in there, like, I don't know, maybe some people can just intellectually be thinking everything through, but it's really nice to just stay open to the mystery.
Well, so that reminds me of a question I wanted to ask you earlier. When you're talking about songwriting, I've sort of come to the conclusion that there are songwriters that do it because they have to, and that there are songwriters who do it because that's who they are. That and the have to is for the person who they are is, I have to write this.
Yeah.
I have to get this out.
Yeah.
And the have to for the other portion that I'm talking about are, well, I'm going to be a musician. I need original songs. I have to write some songs.
I'm going to write some songs now.
Right.
Like, are you a journaler? Were you a journaler?
No.
Yeah, I was.
It's so funny. Right? I'm just not a journaler.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking I should be. And I have 25 notebooks that have like one word on each page. Like, it's sad. I have lonely notebooks that need me, and I just don't do it. But I do it when I'm trying to find an aid. But that's a great question, because I feel like in Nashville, I have to write. I guess I have to.
Well, this is why I'm asking.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, once I let go of that whole, I don't know, I just, that particular job was not the best thing for me.
Yeah.
As it just wasn't. But the more I learned and going back to the night before I started teaching at Berklee, I had dinner. This is such a name-dropping moment, but with Mutt Lange, who is a very famous producer and songwriter.
Yeah, he is.
And he said to me, and it was just me, I was with someone who knew him, but we were with him, and he said, oh, well, how do you teach songwriting? And he said it with his British accent, and I said, I have no idea. I have no idea. And I just stayed open to the curriculum at Berklee. I thought, well, maybe they know something. Let me just see, you know. And wow, and I'm not trying to promote Berklee, but I really felt like, oh, I could have really used this information.
Right.
In Nashville. All of this would have been so helpful.
Yeah.
The getting out of the way part, you know, from Sally Taylor, all the tools, like they're really helpful for when you get stuck. And I feel like now I understand what it means when someone says, well, some people will play a song and say, this song saved my life. I don't have that song, but I definitely have songs where, I don't know, I dreamt this. I just dreamt it. I don't know what it means. I dreamt this. I had that song where I woke up going, what is a wild Irish moon? I don't know, but that was a song that I wrote. And then, you know, there was a song that you know, the thing that came from the Sally Taylor song where I'm not really sure where that song came from. And to really, and then the best part was for the book when my publisher said, okay, I said, there's this John Mayer song, you know, it's called Gravity. Oh. Yes. He doesn't change his chord very often. He's just like holding this chord. And I love that because I feel like the fact that he doesn't change chords is anchoring the listener and making the whole song feel the gravity.
You feel the gravity
chord's not changing.
Right.
So the harmonic rhythm
Yes.
was helping to tell the story. The fact that he was playing this chord the same, just holding that chord out. And so through a very long process, I ended up writing a song about someone in my life that I felt very bound to because they were a family member that I loved, but I feel like I need to love you from here.
Yeah.
Really love you, have to do it from way over here. And it was really like a lifetime struggle.
Yep.
And I felt like after I'd written that song for the book, I felt like it healed something. It really did. And I also felt like I got a song that I loved. And I was writing it from such an intellectual place and such a heartfelt place at the same time.
Right.
So I feel like eventually, like a surfer, you're on the wave, but you really know when to tilt the board and you waxed it and you've got, you know, you really, and now I'm going to let this wave fold over me and I'm going to ride this tube.
Right.
You know?
Right. You've done the prep work. You made sure the board is ready to go and you've got your technique all down. Yeah. And you know exactly what it's supposed to be like, and then you just do it. And
you can get on, and you can be in the middle of a song and go, that sucks, without saying, I'm unworthy, why am I writing songs? I should be a chiropractor, I hate myself. It doesn't have to go to that part. It can just go, nope, that sucks, next. And we're back.
Right,
you have to
right.
hate yourself.
That you thinking a line sucks doesn't now make you a sucky songwriter. Oh, it's just a sucky line. And that's fine, and it just rolls off you.
And you can laugh and go, no, you're not worthy of my song, get out, next. Yeah. And I think eventually you can really be the ninja in the whole process. But it takes it takes a lot of, but I there's always something to learn. There's just always, I could have written a whole book on lyric writing.
I so love the way you're,
I'm waiting for it.
Well,
I so love the way you're talking about it because you're talking about your craft, your skill as a songwriter, like it's an instrument, like you're playing an instrument.
Yeah.
Because there is that level of being proficient at your instrument and then knowing it and then being able to play.
Yeah.
And you're describing a place in your songwriting where you can just play, where you're just playing it now. And you're, of course, going to keep learning, and there's other things to learn from other cool cats in Nashville where you're like, oh, what does this guy know what to say? And that's how I'll learn to do story songs or better or whatever. But that you're playing that.
Yeah.
And again, for the listeners, I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but she was in Nashville 18 years ago?
16
years
17
ago.
years ago.
17 years. So, there's a little bit of time put into that where you're going to be in a place where you're going to write a book about it and be able to play. But that the process is long and real and fun and awful and wonderful and, but that it is a process.
Yeah. And the more you learn, the faster you get at writing. I think that was part of the problem in the beginning, too, was I would be banging my head on the table at Denny's going, what rhymes with love? what rhymes with love? And then, someone should have just walked in with a rhyming dictionary, slapped me, and go, look, enough, and was, and us, and clutch. Look at what you could do. Oh, thank you. No, I was just rhyming in my head without a rhyming dictionary.
Well, because you were like, that's cheating.
Well, no, I didn't even know.
You didn't even think about it.
Rhymed. I would have cheated if at all possible.
I've written songs with people who don't want me to use the rhyming dictionary. I'm like, I'm using this tool.
Yeah.
I have the tool.
Yeah.
There's a tool here.
Eminem uses it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, you're creating a word palette
Right.
for yourself, and then you can just go, "Ooh, I would have never thought of that."
Right. You're not going to just pick the first one you see that rhymes.
No.
Pick the one that
Yeah.
tells the story, that
Yeah.
furthers the story, that is, like you said, surprising.
No, I said dove, so it's got to be love
It
and
has
dove.
to be
It has to
turtle
be.
dove. You know what I like most about meeting you today? I feel like we fit together like a hand and glove.
Oh, nice.
And I feel like there's something about you that's helped me rise above. And
Yeah.
this is a
Yes.
really bad song.
It's a conversation. It's a conversation that I don't really love.
Okay.
Actually, at this point. So
Is trove a word? See, then you get into that. You just go down the
yeah,
dictionary.
no, exactly,
The alphabet.
exactly. So I love that. It actually does remind me of the other question that I wanted to ask you, which was, do you still co-write? And when you do, is it something that, if you do, you obviously value it. So what of it are some of the things that that are valuable for you?
For co-writing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're in the room with someone that is really good, if I'm in the room with someone, I go, oh, I cannot wait to get in a room with them. That's always fun.
Right,
Because
right.
I know that they're going to bring something I'm not going to probably bring by myself.
Right.
And mainly I'm writing with artists. And so
Okay,
when I
yeah.
write with them, it's, what do you want to write today? What's going on with you?
Yeah.
What do you want to, and you're really there in service of them. And what they want to write. And so I'm really careful with that, because I've learned the hard way that, when an artist is excited about something, you are too. So are you. Because I have definitely thought, no. And I've shut down an idea
Right.
that an artist was really excited about, and I didn't make it on the record. I should
Right.
have just been,
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
In fact, I had an artist who was really excited about this idea. She goes, oh, I just saw this movie and they had this line. And I literally written that line from that movie 2 days before that. And I should have said, wow, what a great line. Let's do it. I should have done it again.
Yes.
In a different, like her way.
Right.
So, boy, I mean, the whole idea of yes and from improv. It's
Improv.
exactly how you have
Yeah,
to
well,
be
we talk about that all the time,
as
too.
a co-writer.
and.
Yeah.
Yes and. Let's do it.
All of
You
it
gotta
is.
do that. Let's do it.
As a co-writer, it is. As your career, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, and.
Yeah. So it's so great.
It makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
It opens everything up for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love co-writing. I love co-writing if, when it's somebody I'm really excited to write with. And then if I'm writing alone, I want it to be an idea that I'm, ooh, it's burning and I've got to write this. And then it's fun. If I'm just like forcing a song out, it's not as, you have those days where you just show up and you try stuff and it's not something that
you're like,
you
wow,
feel.
this is a drag today.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's perfect.
That's great.
Scarlet Keys, thank you so much
Very
for being
fun
here.
to sit here with you too.
Oh,
Great questions and
Well, we've had a blast. I've been
Thrilled to
really
have you
looking
here.
forward to this.
Me too.
So, thanks so much for making it happen today.
absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk about knowledge bombs, man.
That was amazing. That was such a great conversation.
I love talk. You guys should listen to that over and over again, because some of the stuff that she was talking about
Yeah.
is so unbelievably thick
Oh, yeah.
theoretically.
Yeah. Well, what's great is that it, like I was talking about the book, it is so dense, but it doesn't feel like you're in the weeds.
No, it's easy to understand.
Yeah, it's really great.
So no, so great.
Yeah. And just so much really, really great information.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, someone who I love her talking about where she is with her writing now, and what she feels like with her writing now,
And about still growing.
absolutely,
And being challenged and about learning new things.
And this is the thing that I want. I know I think I said it in the interview, but I want you guys to hear it again. Just because you're good doesn't mean you stop growing.
Doesn't mean you're done.
Doesn't mean you're done,
You're not going to be done, guys.
right?
There's no cruise control.
There's no cruise control.
It's not over.
It's not over.
It's not. You didn't score a touchdown and you don't get to spike the ball.
No. And
Nope.
then give the interview afterwards. I was doing it for the team. Blah, blah,
Nope.
blah. No. It's always, and what's next?
Exactly.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Yes, and.
Yes, and. And remember, you guys, you got this.
We got your back.